Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Employees of UC Roussel are to receive only 25% of their salaries today. This is a shift from the 50% which normally obtains. However, the company says workers will be receiving the remaining 75% by May 28th. The decision was communicated verbally to workers yesterday. UC Roussel, the second largest aluminium company, says the stance taken is due to sanctions which were levied against it by Russian companies from the United States. It says the decision has made it difficult for them to fulfill their financial obligations.
Challenges as it relates to these sanctions imposed by the U.S. We have been in dialogue with the company through the minister, Mr. Montague. We are hoping that all of this can be resolved in a very short order, as you know, it could have serious effect on the overall operations of the entity. But in the meantime, we have asked the workers to exercise some degree of patience.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie has refuted claims about the establishment of a water shop in Marley Hill, Manchester. He has labelled as mischievous comments made by Member of Parliament for the constituency Michael Stewart that consultations were not held before the water shop was set up. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has details.
I did not know about this at all. The citizens, I understand, were never consulted either. I was told about it after citizens called me and started complaining.
The comment from South Manchester MP Michael Stewart, which has anchored Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie. Mr. McKenzie used Monday's official opening of the water shop in Marley Hill, Manchester, to respond.
Let me make it clear. My obligation as Minister of Local Government is to the 230 elected councillors that the people of this country elect. And the consultations were held with the mayor, the councillor, and most importantly with you, the residents of Marley Hill and its environment.
Minister McKenzie also chided the Jamaica Gleaner for an article about the water shop, which put the cost at over $20 million. The article, titled "Water Shop Eases Woes, but Marley Hill Residents Disappointed," also claimed those who constructed the water shop were yet to be paid. Mr. McKenzie also refuted that.
Lie! Mischief! The article created in the minds of this community that all we are doing was taking them or taking you for a ride.
Speaking last week, the MP and some residents noted that the money used to build the facility could have been better spent rehabilitating the parish tanks to pipe water to houses in the community. The councillor for the Grovetown Division issued a charge to the MP, who did not turn up for the official opening of the water shop.
I am going to take this medium to call on MP Stewart to put the running water into Marley Hill so we can have running water in our homes.
The local government minister insists residents will not have to pay for the water. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
A Chinese business operator has been charged under the anti-litter law for dumping garbage in the town of Montego Bay. Regional Operations Manager for the NSWMA, Garnet Edmondson, says they were made aware of the situation by one of their route supervisors. He said the requisite investigations were carried out, in which receipts from the store were found.
We found some spoiled goods which we matched back with their batch number and items on the shelf. Presently, a team is there now issuing tickets and removal notice. They will be charged under the Solid Waste Act of 2001.
This afternoon, an urgent appeal for steps to be taken to address sewage treatment facilities in Clarendon, which are believed to be breeding ground for mosquitoes. Medical Health Officer for Clarendon, Dr. Kimberly Scarlett Campbell, addressed the issue at the latest meeting of the Municipal Corporation. She noted an increase in suspected cases of dengue fever, which she said the vector control team in the parish is having trouble addressing.
Some of those sewage treatment plants are actually breeding, if they are non-functional, they're not working well, they're actually breeding mosquitoes. So I mentioned at the Public Health and Sanitation meeting in April that we need to work as a council and as a local board to ensure that our sewage treatment plants are functioning as they should. A lot of the work really has to do with the householders, what they are doing to prevent the Aedes infestation on their property. And as much as our vector team will visit and go house to house and educate, behavior change is something that takes time.
In the wake of a report from the Trinidad-based Caribbean Public Health Agency warning the Caribbean to brace for the possibility of a major outbreak in dengue fever this year. Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley is now reviewing evidence presented by telecommunications company Symbiote Investments, which trades as Carousel, as it fights to keep its licenses. On April 10, the government notified Symbiote that its licenses were being yanked. However, the company was allowed to appeal and present evidence it was not in breach of the licenses. Dr. Wheatley says that has now been done by the company.
By law, the license is revoked. But of course, the legislation speaks to affording them a 14-day window to make an appeal. So I'm currently reviewing the appeal and that they need to me as minister.
The minister, however, did not disclose the arguments made by Symbiote during its appeal. Symbiote previously noted that the reason given for the revocation of its licenses were that it failed to provide requested information by December 1, 2017. The company claimed it had evidence its attorneys had sent, and its attorney had sent a written response to the Office of Utilities Regulation. One man is dead following a drive-by shooting Monday afternoon. He has been identified as 33-year-old Garrett Smith, a truck operator of Corn Piece in Hayes, Clarendon. Information reaching TVJ News is that about 2:30 p.m., Mr. Smith was riding his motorcycle along the roadway when unknown assailants drove beside him and opened gunfire, hitting him in his upper body. He was rushed to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The police were called to the scene where 11 9mm spent shell casings were recovered. With the National Identification and Registration Act set to face judicial scrutiny in less than a month, there's a proposal for a parliamentary solution to be found to end the controversy surrounding the newly passed law. Public law barrister in the United Kingdom and former acting public defender in Jamaica, Matunda Makula, is pushing for the issues surrounding the law to be put to a joint select committee of Parliament. He is asserting that it's a serious consideration which should be made because both the government and opposition support the purpose of the law but only disagree with some of the positions.
I would pull it and take it back to a joint select committee. I think that this is a far-reaching piece of legislation that encroaches on your right to privacy, your right to equality before the law, right to a fair hearing. Why rush it through Parliament? There's a consensus that it is needed. Why not just get it right? There was never an issue that, well, one side opposes the enactment of this legislation. Both sides in Parliament have agreed we need this.
The National Identification and Registration Act has generated controversy because of the intrusive characteristics, the obligations it will impose on government agencies, and the penalties such as denial of certain public services. On June 8, the Supreme Court is set to hear an action brought by the PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson, in which it is being claimed that sections of the Act breached several rights which are guaranteed under the Constitution. And in sports, Sabina Park will have its own set of accommodations by 2019. So says Jamaica Cricket Association President Wilford Billy Heaven, as the local cricket boss seeks alternative revenue streams. As Denise Walters reports, Heaven says cricket in Jamaica has to find a way to generate income since sponsors are eyeing more attractive sports.
Wilford Billy Heaven, president of the JCA, says his association is looking into other avenues to twin revenues and sponsorship to support the future of cricket in Jamaica.
And our newest project, which we are working on right now, is what we call Sabina Inn, which is a facility accommodation at Sabina Park. We want it maybe to be at about level, not level, but star 3, you call it? 3-star? 3-star facility. And that in itself will earn income, but it will also save us expenses.
Heaven is supported by Keith Walford, president of the St. Ann Cricket Association, who says that the Sabina Inn project is a very good idea and any form of income that can be generated from cricket has to be given a chance to work.
So whenever we have teams coming from the country, coming into Kingston to play, there's always a problem with accommodation. So the GC providing that form of a facility would definitely enhance income, because the parishes or the cricket teams that are coming to play, they could pay, they'll stay there and maybe be given a discounted rate, and that too is a form of income.
Walford also mentioned that for parish associations to work off a model to generate income for themselves, a lot has to be changed. And he says sponsorship plays a critical role, but parish associations are struggling, as some of them, the venues that they play in, they do not own.
So parish associations are really lagging. Some of them, the presidents or the board, people have to go into their own pocket to fund the game. And we have tried.
Meanwhile, in highlighting the benefits of the Sabina Inn project, Heaven points to the rewards that is being reaped from having lights installed at Sabina Park.
You'll be surprised to know the income being generated just by having lights at Sabina Park, so that we can have night events. If you're listening carefully to the advertisements we're having before the events too, and all of those things. So the lights are being used, income being generated, and so that will take care of a part of the income stream.
In the meantime, Heaven says that the Sabina Inn architectural plans have been drawn up and the project is set to start later this year with a completion date set for 2019. He also says that the Sabina Park Inn will be built where the George Headley stands are on the first and the second floor. The rooms, he says, will be self-contained. When pressed about security, he says Sabina Park has adequate security and security facilities, but the rooms, they will have grills on them as well. Reporting from Sabina Park for TVJ Sports, I am Denise Walters.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.